Beep, 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 beep. Welcome to the Court of the Jester. Good afternoon, good evening, good morning, good night, all that stuff, right? It might be a bit dark, it's middle of the night. I thought, well, I'm doing a thing on Canada, I might as well get up at the same time as the Canadians do. So I'm doing a thing on Canada, we're back in Canada. And I've realised, I don't know what the Canadian national anthem is. So I've set myself the task today of understanding what the Canadian national anthem is. It's very remiss of me, I think, not to know. But we've got an interesting post here from Canada that was sent to me by one of my warrior teachers. It says here that Jamie Sarkonak, Saskatchewan takes on the DEI industrial complex and loses. Right? You can blame the judge, but the government presented a lackluster case. So there's a case about, diversity, equity and inclusion, which is this dreadful communist crap, right? But it's interesting to see what happened when Saskatchewan's government kicked the hornet's nest that is the diversity industrial complex by advancing a policy restricting pronoun changes for kids under 16. The fight wasn't going to be easy. On Thursday, the Swarm won. The Swarm. The Swarm won, obtaining a court injunction that took out the provincial government's pronoun policy. For now. That's the important bit, for now, right? It's not the end of the fight, but the loss surely stings for the government, which brought little evidence and consequently a subpar argument. This will teach you to be ready, eh? What's that? Does that remind me of? It reminds me of something. Wait, it's got Sean Connery is involved. What is it reminds me of? Who else is involved? I've got it. It's Sean Connery and, Robin Hood, Prince of Thieves. What's his name? Kevin Costner. Right? That's the Chicago way. They took a knife to a gunfight. The Untouchables. Come on, it's De Palma. If you haven't seen The Untouchables, I'm not talking to you. Right? The Untouchables by Al Capone. That was it. That's what he did. He sat down to him and said, you never take a knife to a gunfight. The government, essentially here in Canada, took a knife to the gunfight. So my mind works in the most peculiar ways, doesn't it? Right. The David and Goliath struggle between cultural conservatism and top-down diversity, equity and inclusion can be gleaned from the decision granting the injunction penned by Saskatchewan Court of King's Bench Justice Michael McGaul. McGaul had decided whether it was worth it overall to halt the pronoun policy until the trial plays out. The activist side, led by You Are Pride, a Regina-based LGBT LGBTQ advocacy group, which is supported by municipal and federal funding. Oh, what a surprise. Argued that it was necessary for pronoun disclosures to stop immediately. The government argued it was not. McGaul sided with the activists. Right? On the whole of the evidence, I am satisfied that those individuals affected by this policy, youth under the age of 16 who are unable to have their name, pronouns, gender diversity or gender identity observed in the school, will suffer irreparable harm. What a load of cobblers. I'm not living in your fantasy world. I've been harmed! I don't care how old you are. But this is like Harvey. Do you remember the film Harvey? Where he thought he could see a big rabbit called Harvey, 6-foot rabbit called Harvey, and he walked around acting like this 6-foot rabbit existed. Yes? So was it James Stewart? Oh, savings and loan. It was him, wasn't it? James Stewart, right? So he's got this big white rabbit that nobody can see except him. And he'll open the door and go, sorry, Harvey. And the rabbit, and other people start acting like the rabbit's there as well. This is essentially it. The judge gone, there's the rabbit. It's absolutely bloody bonkers. The activists presented a mountain of evidence to back their claims. You Are Pride put forward after the affidavits from a lineup of witnesses, including its executive director, a 14-year-old trans kid, 2 teachers, a University of Columbia nursing professor, a Simon Fraser University health science professor, a non-binary sociology professor, and from Simon Fraser University. They had the anecdotes and the expert testimony they needed, right? Again, don't rely on the bloody experts, they're captured. See, Canada's showing us the way. Their views aren't popular by any means. Now, this is the interesting thing, especially after the million people march in Canada, another one coming up in October. Their views aren't popular by any means. Saskatchewan's pronoun policy, which requires parental consent for children under 16 to change their name or pronouns at schools, is consistent with the views of most people. I don't think they should be allowed to do it at all. And they certainly shouldn't be allowed to expect everybody else to live in their gaga world. Sorry, wouldn't allow it at all. Come on, Canada, do better. Polling data shows that 80% of Canadians and 86% in Saskatchewan believe parents should be informed of name changes. How is this even a thing, folks? That includes 43%, 50% in Saskatchewan, who also believe consent should be required. Only 10% believe the decision should entirely be up to the child. And apparently that's 14% countrywide. And that was the status quo for a number of school boards before the government changes brought in last month. The court doesn't care about that, though. What matters is having a small army of experts to back you in the courts. It's lived experience crap, isn't it? The judge praised the activist side arguments. In an extremely short period of time, UR Pride has prepared detailed and complicated pleadings and obtained evidence in the form of 3 affidavits from experts and several affidavits from individuals who prefer relevant evidence to the matter in issue in the litigation. Nobody's mentioned harm. Right? So the Canadians have got access to CAS. They know what's going on over here in Turf Island. But yet, what? Hello? Little UR Pride's name is on the tin, but the actual legal team was more substantial. It had the support of Egale, E-G-A-L-E, Egale Canada, another advocacy group backed by hefty government grants. It's the same everywhere, isn't it? The legal team seemed to impress the judge. This entity has been able to attract the legal assistance of a minimum of 5 lawyers, all apparently invested in the advancement of this litigation, wrote McGaw. It is clear that the national law firm has committed significant resources to this litigation, and the clear indication that it intends to continue with this level of commitment. What? What's that got to do with it? On the other side is the Saskatchewan government, which was noted by a judge to have not yet provided its complete material concerning its opposition to the challenge mounted by UR Pride. Granted, they didn't have much time to prepare, but then again, neither did the activists. As for witnesses, the government relied on a deputy minister to explain how the policy works, and one expert witness to defend it in practice. Right? So what's essentially happened there is the government's gone, this will be easy. You have to pay attention. You remember when Stonewall and Mermaids did that? Every court case they go into, it's like, yeah, we're ready. Oh, we're not ready. But this sounds to me suspiciously like the judge isn't ruling on legal precedent and possibility of harm. The judge isn't ruling on what is likely to be the safest route, i.e. the do no harm route for children. The judge isn't ruling on that at all. What it strikes me that the judge is doing is that he's taken the information from both sides and rather like a teacher, he's marked their homework. But I'll be interested to see what you've got to say. Night, night.